empowering others, and planning for some short-term wins. I think it's really important. Often we discard, the issues around that's just the low-hanging fruit. But actually getting your school clean, getting rooms clean, creating proper environment for team meetings where people meet, getting a sense of order within a school, creating a safe, secure learning environment is absolutely critical precondition to learning that might take place in a classroom. Where they're often called short-term wins, but they're important in going into the more complex work of improving teaching and learning. And so it's an iterative process. You need to keep consolidating the improvements and building upon them and continue to work with them. I haven't got time to go into that at great depth. I'd like to give you examples, but it is a helpful framework to go back to ask yourself, do we have a sense of urgency around our work? And I'll return to that later. So this is the goal. I like the way in which this is articulated. Robert Peterkin, I think, gets to the very heart of it. It's about every child, no matter what their background, in every classroom. This issue of consistency, by design, not by chance. And we all know those areas of poor performance within our schools. And the only candid time that people are prepared to have a conversation about the teacher that isn't really teaching effectively is in the car park. But we keep this cultural norm that all teachers are equal, just that some are more equal than others, that we're not prepared to admit that there's a continuum of teacher performance and capacity within our schools. That has to be unmasked, that we are all on different stages of that learning journey. Some are more adept at some teaching repertoires than others. But it's about creating that sense of consistency so that it doesn't matter who I have. If there are 6 maths teachers, I'm not worried about the fact that I got Mr. Armstrong. And I go home and I tell my parents, there were 6 classes, but I got him, And I've got a daughter in Year 12 this year, and she came home and she's very distressed about one of the teachers, and they've gone to 73-minute periods in this school, and I won't say which school. And so far, the teachers turned up halfway, or not at all, in the lessons for psychology. So I think, well, where's the other teachers saying, what's going on here? Does it have to be the principal? No, it should be internal accountability, mutual support and accountability to each other. So it should be beyond, if it's a grade level team, you don't want to get the letter at the end of the year, I don't want to have Mrs. So-and-so again next year, thanks. We can laugh about it, but it's absolutely the bold truth, isn't it? And so it shouldn't be by chance, and it shouldn't, let me tell you, having come from a very privileged school where there's lots of cultural and social capital that walks in through the front gate at Borland, that's unlike many of the schools that you work in, where there are much more complex and deeper issues to attend to in the lives of children. It shouldn't be which region you're in, and it shouldn't be which suburb you live in. And that's why we're here today, gathered because we believe that we can make a significant difference together. And fundamentally, all children can learn to achieve at very high levels. And that's a belief system that needs to be tested in conversation. People talked about the quality of the conversations around teaching and learning. To really press into that, do your teachers fundamentally believe that all children, no matter what their background and where they're from, that they can learn and achieve to high levels? And today is really looking at this, I think, with Dr. Sarah Glover and Di Peck, who'll be coming to address us as well, that you must, in your work, in each of your meetings and with your principal and leadership teams, work out whether you're really focused on teaching and learning. There are other structural adjustments and organisational and policy adjustments that need to be made to help that flourish, but it's really about what's happening at the core. And I've been involved in school reform over a significant period of time, and you often get beguiled into the fact that things are working because you've made a decision and certain structural adjustments have been made. And, then you'd wander down the corridor and see that it wasn't necessarily the case. And I'll give you an example, middle years of schooling, smooth the transition from grade 6 into year 7. and having base rooms and teams of teachers, integrated curriculum and so on. And a lot of those structural adjustments took place. And you'd wander down the corridor and all, the base rooms committed, and we're going to have cooperative learning groups, base teams and task teams and so on, and you'd wander down the corridor and then you'd find the chairs and tables in rows. Or you'd see, cooperative listening to the front, where, you have the form thereof but not the substance. You have your literacy block, whole, small, whole, you got the language around it, but what's actually happening in there? Because if it's not happening on the ground, if you can't see it, it's actually not there. It's a good thing to press in and see that after your meetings to really say, well, how are we going to do an inquiry around this? Where are the artefacts? Student work doesn't lie. Look at the product of their learning. Bring in the artefacts and have a discussion about the quality of student work together.